Tom Michaels on the phone.
Tell me you didn't just do that, Sonny.
Michaels, Tom Michaels.
Wait, are we on the clock?
Tell me you didn't just do that.
Just got the number 6 pick, and no, we are not on the clock. Denver is on the clock.
Okay, so we got 6. Who are we picking at 6? Rick, can you get Marvin on the phone now?
Okay, let me get this straight. In the span of one day, you have managed to burn through 3 years worth of number 1 and number 2 picks. Is that correct?
Yeah.
As we get closer and closer to draft day, and we do mock draft after mock draft after mock draft, and I do 2 mock drafts right before we record this podcast, and the name Cassius Howell sticks in my head, and that guy becomes the only person I think the Bears should pick. I want to have you maybe talk to us a little bit about what's out there, who's out there, what should we be looking for, as you know, as we're trying to find a person who could make some changes to this team and lead us closer to the promised land. So, what sort of prospects do we have out there waiting for us?
Well, you got what, an A minus on your draft, you said, when you drafted Cassius Howell?
I got an A per PFF mock draft.
I mean, let's just get you in that war room, man. You're just gonna be like, I don't care, Cassius Howell or bust.
It's like he was taken at 24. You can't get him anymore. It's like, well, I want him anyway.
Well, if you watch Draft Day, so you told me in our little pre-show that you haven't seen it yet, but Cassius Howell or bust, it'll mean something to you when you watch Draft Day.
Okay, I'll watch it.
All right. Yeah, so it's weird that the Bears are picking at 25 and we have to evaluate a lot of players. Usually when the Bears are drafting, we only have to evaluate 5 to 10 because, that's where they're picking. And we don't have to worry about a lot more than that. But a good problem to have, right? It feels like there's some good depth in certain positions, especially ones that the Bears need in this draft. I think what you can look for on that 25 pick is they can go a couple different ways. I think they'll either go offensive tackle, defensive end, or defensive back. I think those are the 4 options that are available to them. But I think of those 4, they might have a priority in their head of like which position group is the most important out of those 4. But as we've seen, they'll probably go the best player available within those position groups. We saw that with Colston Loveland. They took the best player available, even though tight end wasn't really like a desperate need. And it worked out pretty well, right? Even Luther Burden at 39, wide receiver, it wasn't necessarily a need, but he was the best player available and they took him. I'm not saying if the wide receiver is the best player available. I doubt that they would take a wide receiver, or something like that. So I would expect them to go in a couple different ways. Now, before we get into some of those players, we talked about, I think you mentioned Dexter Lawrence as a name thrown out there earlier. He's a all-pro defensive tackle on the Giants who is, looking to get a new contract. He's still got 2 years left on his deal, so it's pretty team-friendly, but he wants to be traded or get an extension. And man, if there's some rumors that the Giants are looking for a late first or early second, I mean, I don't see how you don't pull the trigger on that with Dexter Lawrence. He fits perfectly into what they want to do, fits perfectly into Dennis Allen's defense, which Dennis Allen's defense, they try to get bigger defensive ends that can also play the run and to collapse and bull rush those tackles. And they really expect their defensive tackles to create pressure up the middle. And that's primarily how they want to get pressure. And the Bears couldn't generate any pressure with their defensive tackles last year. So you saw them struggle a little bit on the defensive side. So Dexter Lawrence would solve a lot of those problems. Actually, there's a crazy stat that I bookmarked, and I don't want to get it wrong. So let me pull it up real quick. Okay. So the number of pressures when aligned at nose tackle since 2022. I'll give you the second place guy first. The second place guy is Vita Vea, 32. 32 pressures when he's lined up at nose tackle since 2022. Number one is Dexter Lawrence. Just guess how many he has. So Vita Vea is in second with 32. How much does Dexter Lawrence have?
63.
108. 108.
Shit.
Like it's different stratosphere. That sounds juicy. Now he's
Mm.
28. So he'll be 30 when he's looking for a new deal. Um, does it kind of line up? Because in 2 years you have to pay Caleb as well. I don't know if that all lines up or not. They're up against the cap anyway. And as our friend Nicole said in our group chat, shout out Nicole, it's not his money, so he'd pay it anyway. Um, but they still have to come up with some cap space. So it's not impossible. It makes a lot of sense on paper. Does it work in real life? I don't know. But that would be a home run in my opinion. If you trade 25 for Dexter Lawrence, you still get to keep those 2 second-round picks, fill it out. I would be ecstatic. I'd be ecstatic about that.
Can I ask you a question about that? So, the
Yeah.
names that had been floating around in sort of previous episodes, and just kind of in general, has been Max Crosby. Abel brought up
Hmm.
Miles Garrett in the last episode. Now, are
Yeah.
those from would they just cost a lot more from
Yes. Yes,
oh,
yes,
I
yes, yes.
see.
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
Miles Garrett would
okay.
cost you multiple first round picks, probably a couple second round picks. Like he's going to cost you a lot. Max, you saw,
Mm,
went for 2 first round picks.
yeah, yeah.
Um, this would just be 1 first round pick and a late first. We could do that. Oh, I froze
That's
again. I've been
oh
freezing a
yeah.
lot, guys. So just hopefully you can still hear me. I think
He
it's
refuses to close any of the tabs. He has up 95 tabs, which
I
gives
live
us
my
great stats. It's important. Yeah.
I live my life in fear, guys. That's one thing that you have to know about me. All right. I closed ChatGPT. I feel like for whatever reason, ChatGPT probably takes up a lot of space.
Mm.
All right.
As you bring up that just that pressure number too, like that's like I guess if we're thinking like high impact value for I guess comparatively low cost. I mean, is there a reason that his like it's just less picks for him than some of the other guys?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Because he's young and he plays an important position. Now people value defensive end more than defensive tackle, it seems, but I think that attitude might even be shifting a little bit. But we don't really see a ton of elite defensive tackles. I don't know why it doesn't cost that much for him. Maybe, I mean, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have as much sack number, like total numbers as those guys do. And he's not
I
as
see.
much of a, I mean, I actually, you know what? I disagree. He is a game wrecker. I don't know. That's why I feel like if you can get him for that, do it. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay, and that would obviously potentially shift kind of the decisions the Bears make, but let's sort of go under the
Yeah.
assumption that the Bears don't trade for this man.
Yep.
Um, so maybe can you tell me as you're thinking about like what you would like their sort of from a just position perspective, what you would like their first sort of position to be if like all things equal, I guess.
Yeah. So the offensive line, offensive tackle position has really picked up steam from things that I'm reading. And I get it if they don't think Ozzy's going to be back at all anytime soon because he totally ruptured his patella and that's like could be a career changer, right? And if they draft an offensive tackle in the first round, that leads me to believe that like Ozzy's time with the team might be over.
Mm,
Could be that bad. And if that's the case, then okay, do it, right? You got to protect Caleb. Go get a stud offensive tackle. It's not going to be any easier to get one next year. So get one at 25. There's a couple options that could be there for them at 25. A lot of people have talked about Monroe Freeling. He's like a true left tackle. I don't think he's going to be there at 25, but if he's there, I could see them considering taking him. He's where's he out of Georgia, I think. And then there's Blake Miller out of Clemson. He's a kind of refined guy that I could see them taking. Caden Proctor, people have talked about him. Now, on Bears on Tap pod last night that we did, both Q and Ron, offensive line gurus, they don't like Caden Proctor. They think that he has no technique, horrible technique, and he's just like he's 6'7", like 300 and whatever pounds. So he's like a massive man that can move, and
yeah.
so people are enamored with him. Um, his run blocking is good, but like, can he hold up in pass pro because he doesn't have a ton of technique? He doesn't use his hands well. This is all just stuff that I'm kind of relaying from a conversation I had last night. So he's a guy that's there, but they're not super high on him. Um, so there's a couple options at offensive tackle that they can go with. But that's where the value is, I think. And there's also value at safety there. There's two safeties that are first round grades that people have. One of them is Dylan Tieneman, who everybody really likes. He's also projected to go before the Bears pick. He's out of Oregon. He's kind of like that really heady, uh, do it all safety, very smart, high football IQ, athletic, very fluid. I think if he's there at 25, they strongly consider taking him. He's
Mm.
that good, but he's been mocked a lot earlier than that. So I'm not sure about him. The other one is Emmanuel McNeil Warren. He's hard hitting safety out of Toledo, but he kind of gives me Brisker vibes from things that I read about him. So I don't know if they just let Brisker walk, if they're going to sign somebody that kind of is like Brisker anyway. So
And when you say that, what do you mean by that?
I mean that he's really good playing forward and not so great playing backward.
Mm.
So run plays, pass plays in front of you to break up. He can hit hard. He can do all that stuff. Play in the box. Can he backpedal? Can he be that ball hawk? Can he break up a deep pass? Can he not get burned? I think some of those things are question marks that you would have with him. But
Gotcha.
I think Brisker played really well. When he was outside of before he had all those concussions. So I don't know, maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, those are like kind of the two safeties that are there. There's a number of cornerbacks that are there that they could surprise you and go with. Colton Hood is picking up steam. He's a cornerback out of Tennessee. Tennessee has a pair of cornerbacks that are projected to go in the first round or either first round, Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood. McCoy will probably be long gone before the Bears pick. Hood is right around that range. He is, as Q put it, he's a football player, man. He loves to hit. He's physical.
Mm.
Basically, Dennis Allen would love him. He's got that dog a little bit there. So I think that could be a realistic pick. But I think most Bears fans are probably looking along the defensive line,
Before we get there, can I
because
ask you a
yeah,
safety question, actually?
yeah, yeah.
Do because the what I was reading is one of the things I liked about Kobe Bryant is his ability to kind of like play
Mm-hmm.
multiple safety positions. Do
Mm-hmm.
safeties when they're coming out of college, do they tend to like do they play one like strong safety or free safety, or how does that, what's the
Yeah,
transition
no,
like?
that's a good question. So some do, but it's really changing now where you ask your safeties to be able to do both.
Mm.
Because you want to disguise coverages, you want to move them around quite a bit. So you want your safeties to be able to play in the box, ball hawk. You want them to be able to do it all. So
Got you.
I think it'd be uh uh like a position neutral kind of safety that they would draft. Just somebody that they feel like has good football instincts, tackles, you know, things like that. Just good traits they would put back there, regardless of position that they played strong or free.
Got you. Got you. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
before I cut you off, you were talking about, so yeah, where most Bears fans are probably leaning towards would be that defensive end
Yeah.
position.
Now, unfortunately, there's not a ton of great value there where they're picking. There's guys that are like, I'm sure if you've done some mocks, you've seen Peter Woods there, you've seen Zion Young there, you've seen maybe Christian Miller there, Caden McDonald, Caleb Banks. Christian Miller is, I think, was Q and Ron's favorite defensive tackle out of Georgia of that bunch. But I think every single one of those guys feels like they've got yeah, okay, I like this guy, but kind of thing.
Mm.
Caleb Banks might be the best defensive tackle on the board, but he's broken his foot twice now, and he's like 330 pounds. So, you know, is that something that can his foot hold up, right? If you're that heavy and you've already broken your foot twice, I don't know. It's kind of tough. Akeem Messeter, defensive end out of Miami, is really good player, but he's 25. And so it's like, okay, are we going to spend our first round pick on a 25-year-old who's like, what, maybe like 5 years away from, you know, being on the, being 30 years old and maybe washed up, right? So
Yeah.
every player like has something, but there's kind of like this, okay, but kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if they really liked a player to see them move up. Kedrick Falk is one of these guys. If he's there at 25, I think they take him. He is a defensive end out of Auburn. His thing is he's super raw. He is like 19 years old. He gets to the quarterback a ton. He's good against the run. He just doesn't have a lot of sack numbers. He can put some pressure on, but he's not doesn't have like moves necessarily. He's just like
Okay.
really raw. And so to me, I think I think if they get him, they feel good about being able to develop him. It also tell you a lot about what the Bears think they are um, going into next year. Because if they draft somebody like Messiter, then you feel like, okay, in the Bears' mind, we don't care that he's 25 because we think our window's now. And I don't
Mm,
really
mm,
give a
mm,
shit
mm.
what he's going to be three years from now. This guy's going to help our defensive line right now, and we need help right now, and we can win right now. But if they take somebody like Falk, they're admitting like, hey, we don't need him to be good next year. We got time. We're not expecting to totally compete next year. We have a longer window. We still a couple pieces away, and by the time we get them, Falk will be where we need him to be. So it's kind of interesting. I'm interested to see where they think they are based on the player that they take.
Well, that's really cool. And actually, that's like quite helpful for me too, thinking just kind of, yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I think the more
Mhm.
after watching all of last season and being so thoroughly sort of invested in it, the idea of a window almost seems a little like, I mean, it's like super uncertain anyways. And it's like, man, like you kind of, how often are opportunities being presented? And like, yeah, it's just, yeah, that's an interesting additional perspective because I don't know, that window could be short just because that's like the chance of this all.
Yeah, and like the tackle thing is interesting too because if they take one, then you're also like, okay, some of these guys were pure left tackles, some of them were right tackles. There's a player out of Arizona State, Max Ihenachor. I'm gonna butcher that name. He basically started playing football like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. But as Q put it, he has no business being as good as he is for only having played this amount of football. And you're
Hmm.
like, okay, what if they take him? Like, how, I don't, what's the plan? I don't know what the plan is. And some of these guys that used to be right tackles, it's like, okay, are you converting them to a left tackle? Or are you keeping them at right tackle and you're going to take Darnell Wright and move him to left tackle? Or what, or like, are you thinking Braxton Jones and Jedrick Willis? Where do they fit into this? So there'd be some questions there, but it would at least tell me that like they don't feel great about Ozzy and they may not feel great about having Braxton or Jedrick start. They might want this guy to like be ready to play midseason if one of those two guys bombs, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like you'll also um, you'll also kind of see who's running the show too a little bit. If they
Hmm.
trade up for a defensive player or something like that, you're like, okay, Dennis Allen is getting what Dennis Allen wants kind of on this draft. So there's a lot of like chess moves at play, I think. Depending on what they do and where they go and where they think they are as a team, heading into next year. Are they ready to compete or do they feel like they're a little bit away? That's why the Miles Garrett move would be so exciting for me. It's because it's like, dude, these guys feel like they're there. They feel like
Oh.
they're
Oh, so,
close.
say that again. You froze for a second. That's why the Miles Garrett move would be so exciting, and then it went blank on us.
Oh, because it would tell me that they think that they're ready to win. They're like, let's go. We're there. I F them picks, man. Like, let's
Yeah.
go win a Super Bowl. That would be
Yeah.
exciting.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Got you. Yeah. Very interesting. I'm always impressed during this time of, well, I'm always impressed by your ability to know everything all season and off season, in particular during this time of year where you just named about 15 different people, and none of them were Cassius Howell, so that's 15 new people to me that I'd never heard of before. So I appreciate your sharing of names. An episode I will myself, I really listen to most episodes, but I will absolutely re-listen to this because that's a lot of names and lots of people. But it's like, as you said, like it's nice to be in the position. they're
It
in. A lot of
is.
options that
Yeah.
can paint an interesting picture for sort of, yeah, where they think they're at, which is cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting, and we still got a couple weeks, right? Until the draft. I think it's the last week of April, 25th or something like that. So,
Yeah.
we'll be able to keep refining this and seeing what they do. I don't think they're gonna make any moves until the draft. I think they're gonna see what's available and where they can go. That getting that extra second round pick for DJ Moore was so big for them
Yeah.
because now they have ammunition to move down if they need to, or they have ammunition to trade a first to get a player they really like. It gives them a lot of flexibility. So that's gonna be make for a fun draft night.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, thank you for all of that. That's very, yeah, it's we at the beginning of this season we had done like Ryan Poles as a GM, kind of like ranking based
Yeah,
on his
yeah,
picks.
the
And it's been
assessment. Yeah,
interesting.
maybe we should revisit
Yeah,
it.
it might be a good idea just given like, because we didn't include the Ben Johnson signing because we didn't know what that was going to look like, but there's probably, a lot of new good stuff that's happened over the
I
last
think he finished
year.
with a 6 point something out of 10, right?
Yeah,
If I remember correctly. That's
something like that. Yeah.
probably maybe in the sevens now. I don't
I think
know.
it's clicked its way up a little bit, I would say.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Any final thoughts before we get to where people can hear you and listen to you and all that stuff?
Yeah, no, part of that is also if you like draft stuff and listen to the Bears on Tap pod that we did last night where Ron Luce and Quentin Crisco were on it. They're way smarter than I am when it comes to anything Bears related, and so you can learn a lot by listening to those two guys. They watch tape, they understand players' strengths and weaknesses. I just read stuff online, so they're if you're interested in that, definitely check that out, and you can find all that stuff on Bears on Tap, ontapsportsnet.com is where I'm at. And my ex is at smpatel06. And I post stuff there. Hopefully, I didn't freeze during any of that.
Nah, you were good.
Excellent.
Awesome. I am doing an improv show on Tuesday, April 14th, the day before tax day at 7:30 at the Bug House Theater with my team Slugs. Tuesday, April 14th at 7:30 with my improv team Slugs. If you're in Chicago or if you want to fly into Chicago to come watch the show, please do that. For Samir Patel, I'm Chirag Rathod. We are the Bears in the Neighborhood, your weekly insight into the Chicago Bears in under 30 minutes, and we will catch you all next week.